Hi, welcome to another edition of Ask Andrew. Each week I answer a question submitted by you, one of our BMFI patrons. If you have a film-related question you'd like to see me answer, please go to the Film Studies Online section of brynmarfilm.org and look for the Ask Andrew form. Submit your question that way, and who knows, maybe next week I'll be answering your question. For this week, Ed asks, how do you think the Academy Awards will be impacted by the inability of the movie studios to release films for theatrical runs? Will different types of films win awards now? Are big budget spectacles dead now? Well, it is true that the Academy is altering its eligibility requirements due to the closure of movie theaters because of the pandemic. In April, they announced a change to their rules that for the first time in the Academy's history, a movie will not have to have a theatrical run in Los Angeles County for a week in order to be eligible for Best Picture or any of the other competitive awards. Typically, the Academy required a commercial run in Los Angeles County for a minimum of a week during the calendar year for which the film wished to be eligible. This is part of the reason why so many movies are released on Christmas Day. Prestige movies are released on Christmas Day because it gives them a week. The Academy is addressing this, the limitation, or I guess the inability to show movies in theaters in Los Angeles County for a week for this year's awards only, so far anyway. In the following ways. First, they are allowing films that have premiered on video on demand or other sorts of more sort of streaming or at-home arrangements to be considered to be eligible for Oscars, as long as within a certain period after they premiere in their video on demand format, they are made available for streaming in a special Academy streaming screening room, that's hard to say, for members to be able to view, which would, allow members to see the movies for free as they always can, to decide which movies are eligible. That's one way they're changing things for this year only, for the awards that will take place in early 2021, or at least they're planned to take place in early 2021. The other change they're making, and I'm not sure that this one won't survive past this year, although for now it's only for this year, is they're allowing movies to have their qualifying run in metropolitan areas besides Los Angeles. Those include New York, Chicago, and Atlanta, among others. And this will allow a movie to qualify for awards by having a commercial run in other cities besides Los Angeles, if for some reason Los Angeles is later to open its movie theaters than Atlanta or Chicago. But the studios wish to only have their film released in theaters, a strategy that is being pursued by Warner Brothers with their film Tenet, among other studios and other films, then this will allow them to have a qualifying run through a theatrical release that is not dependent on Los Angeles theaters being opened. So the rules are changing so far for this year only, and we'll see if they go beyond that. Its question is about whether this will lead to different types of films winning awards, and are big budget spectacles dead? Well, I think the answer to both of those parts of his question is no, or I should say the answers are no. The Academy tended not to award its top prizes to the biggest budget films, to the biggest spectacles that were out there. That is one of the reasons why they are now, in another rules change, expanding the Best Picture category further than they had before. Some of you may know that the initial expansion of the Best Picture category beyond 5 films happened in 2009 as a response to the 2008 release of The Dark Knight, and that film, which was very well received and also very popular, not receiving a Best Picture nomination. They wanted to open things up to more types of movies, perhaps for diversity, but primarily to get some more big budget and very popular blockbuster type movies into Best Picture consideration, with the belief that that got more people interested in the Academy and their awards and the industry in general, because television viewership for the Oscar ceremony has been declining significantly over the last many years. And the thought is that if a movie like Titanic, which was enormously popular, was up for a lot of awards, then that means that the viewership for the Oscars would be up. And it's true that the viewership for the year Titanic was up for its Oscars, was tremendously a high television viewership for the ceremony. It may be the highest ever. I'm not certain about that. But the idea being that blockbusters bring eyeballs to the awards and are good for the industry if a film can be popular and sort of viewed as exceptional or critically acclaimed or approved by the Academy or what have you. So I think those sorts of movies will always be made. I think the expansion of the Best Picture category will help ensure that they are still in contention. But I don't know that Hollywood has ever sort of, I shouldn't say ever, that's not true, but in recent years, it doesn't seem to me that they've been looking to give their awards to blockbusters. If you think about the films that have won Best Picture over the last few years, I don't really think any of them is the type of movie that is markedly diminished by not having a theatrical release. Now, I think all movies are diminished by not having a theatrical release, but I think that in terms of big picture and sound and things like that, that I think Ed's referring to when he talks about blockbusters, I don't think most of the movies that have won Best Picture over the last several years would really qualify in that regard. I think the industry, regardless of awards, is going to keep making blockbusters. I don't think big budget spectacles are dead, to get to the last portion of Ed's question. I think there is a lot of commerce, not to mention history and tradition, related to seeing movies in movie theaters. I think, as I said, I think it's the best way to see all movies, but I don't think the industry is going to stop making the sorts of big budget spectacle films that people tend to want to see in theaters, if only for the economics. Those, one of those movies hitting well, one Avengers film that cleans up, makes $1 billion around the world, basically allows the company that releases it, in the case of the Avengers, Disney, to not really have to worry about any of their smaller movies and how well they do. Not that they're making very many small movies now, but some other studios are, or riskier movies. I shouldn't say smaller movies. So I don't think things are going to change radically beyond the sort of questions of what's eligible for awards and things like that. But I do think for this year, there will certainly be changes, and I could be wrong, and you can sort of see as the Oscars, the nominations and the awards are announced early next year, whether you think that the shift away from theatrical exhibition, at least for much of 2020, changed how the awards ended up. Thanks for the question. And if you have a question for me that you'd like to see me try to answer about film only, please go to brynmarfilm.org, go to the Film Studies Online section, and find the Ask Andrew form. Who knows? Maybe next week I'll be answering your question.